Hey everyone, it's time for another resin project. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to be doing these coasters. But before I do, I don't know if you remember from my last resin project, I learned the hard way that I needed something firm at the bottom of my resin projects if I'm going to move them around. I ended up moving my project and it didn't turn out too bad. I don't know if you remember this, but it did move around a little bit more than I had wanted, and so I lost some of the color that I had wanted on there. So I decided to use tile, but I don't like the fact that it's it's not finished at the bottom. So I'm actually gonna put the cork squares from the dollar store that I have. They're self-adhesive. Just in case, I might put a little bit of glue or something on there, but I'm gonna try it, just peel and stick and see if it works. And if it doesn't, I'll go ahead and switch it. But that's what I'm gonna do first. I'm gonna go ahead and get 2 tiles ready so that way I can get my projects going. So we'll be right back in just a moment. All right, as you can see, I marked it right here so I can cut it in half. I'm not gonna cover the whole back of the tile. I'm just gonna go ahead and cover part of it, just enough so it doesn't scratch anything for me. And yeah, I cut it with the wrapping in there. I figured it'd be easier for me. So, all right. Again, I got those from the dollar store. They're very handy for different things. So let's go ahead and peel these. There you go. This way I can lift it up, and it's got a little gap because of this. So it makes it easier to lift. And that way I'm not gonna have a problem with the resin moving around too much or the glitter that I put inside of it. So, all right, I'm gonna do 2 of them. So I'm gonna do a couple different projects. Figured might as well so I don't have to wait too long for them. Seems like the self-adhesive is going to be just fine. I thought for sure it needs more than that, but this is working out really well. There we go. All right, now for our project. Okay, so I went ahead and did all the measurements so you don't have to sit there and watch me stirring or anything else. But basically, if you remember from my last videos, I used the epoxy and the hardener. It was 50-50. And then I stirred it for a good 2 minutes. Then I went ahead and put my mica powder. I used the silver black for this one and stirred it a little bit more. And now I'm just pouring it all in. It looks really pretty, especially with the sunlight. I could see all the shimmering color in it. Okay, so I'm trying to spread it around. I didn't put a whole bunch because I'm only doing half of it with the mica powder. Now I'm just gonna empty the rest of what I have. But again, it's about, you can't see from this angle, but it's about half of the coaster. I didn't fill it all the way to the very top of the mold because I want to actually put a design on it. I'm not sure which one yet. I'm talking to my husband about it because I'm making this for him, and so I'm gonna check with him and see what he'd like me to put on there. But for right now, I'm just getting rid of all the bubbles, and you can see there's quite a few of them that made just kind of like a ring on there. So I went ahead and took care of that. And I didn't like the pattern, so I'm just mixing it up a little bit just to kind of change the pattern a little bit on there. I did struggle a little bit with this project more than the others as far as bubbles go. So you'll kind of see all my mistakes throughout this video. I like to point them out so you can learn from them when you make your resin. That way you'll learn from all my mistakes and not make the same ones I have. But isn't that pretty? I like the way that looks. It's a little mesmerizing just staring at it, I think. All right, so I'm just gonna let it sit for a little bit. And every once in a while, I'm just gonna put the heat gun on there. Just make sure I get rid of as many bubbles as I can. Now during this time, I decided I was going to put Raiders for my husband's favorite football team, but he didn't like the idea. He thought it looked too cluttered with all the letters in there. So he asked me to just put 2 zeros, and so that's what I ended up doing, is putting 2 zeros on there. So I actually waited about an hour and a half. So the resin was still a little wet, but it wasn't completely dry. This way the lettering or the numbers actually will stick to it pretty good. I don't have to put anything extra on there. So I went ahead and did that. Then I waited a full day, and then now I'm putting clear resin on the very top. So I'm filling the rest of that in there. As you can see, there's quite a few more bubbles than normal. I think I stirred too much and I didn't let it sit for a little bit. Next time I'm going to try to remember to just let it sit, even if it's for 30 seconds to calm down. So I'm trying to spread it all out evenly there. I've never done layering like this before, but so far I've been happy with it. I think waiting an hour and a half was good. This way the numbers still, the resin was still sticky enough to where it grabbed a hold of the letters pretty well, but it didn't sink in or cause an issue. The one issue I did have is I put one of the numbers a little further away than the other. So when I went to go remove it, the resin started to bunch up and it was very noticeable. So I thought, okay, I just have to ignore it, leave it alone. Hopefully it'll fix itself. And sure enough, it ended up when I came back after, several hours, and it had settled down. So I did nudge it a little, but it did settle down because it was still early enough. So that worked out really well. Pouring this on there, the numbers did not budge. So that's good too. But as you can tell, there's a ton of bubbles. It's going to take a little bit of work to get rid of all of those, but I'm hoping it'll just settle down a little bit. And here it is. I already got the bubbles off of the first one. Now you can see how quickly they're all disappearing. However, I'm going to mention to you, I still saw a lot more bubbles than the camera is showing, and I used the heat gun a little too much. It's always recommended to put a little bit of heat and then remove it, let it cool for a while, a good 10-15 minutes, and then try again. I got a little carried away and I didn't wait long enough, and you'll see the results in a little bit. In the meantime, right now I'm using a toothpick to try to get the bubbles on the edges to remove them, because I really don't want to try to sand all those little ridges. It's a little too much. So I'm trying to pop them with a toothpick. All right, so they've hardened up completely. I actually waited a little extra just to make sure. And so we're just gonna go ahead and remove those. I did, before I remove it though, I don't want to show you, but I did make a mistake on this one. I overheated it. I kept seeing bubbles, and instead of waiting a little bit before I used my heat gun, I actually just kept using it. Rookie mistake, but I am a rookie, I'm still learning. So anyway, it ended up peeling almost like, the layer of milk if you heat up milk. I actually peeled it off and put it in here. This actually came off really easy. I went to use a toothpick to pop a bubble, and this came along with it, so I just put it in this cup. lot to toss, but all right, let's go ahead and peel them and finish them up. This I'm gonna sand and try to do something, you know, to fix this a little bit. So I'm gonna do that in a different video. But in the meantime, let me adjust my camera and we'll go ahead and finish this one up. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this off. It's not that hard to take off, which is nice. Ooh, I like the look of that. I don't know if you could see the shimmery. Sorry, the light's in the way, but so. The only thing that's a bummer is right here it has what looks like glitter or something. I don't know what ended up falling in there. However, I'm not going to sand this at all because it seems like it's pretty good. Actually, take it back. I'm gonna go ahead and sand it. I'm not gonna bore you with watching that. So I will be right back. Now that I've finished my coasters, I wanted to go ahead and put something at the bottom. So I got the adhesive cork sheet from the dollar store, and I'm going to cut that out. So I found out that the measurement was great for the polishing turtle wax polish that I had, so I just used that to trace my cork board or cork sheet, and I'm just going to cut them out and put them at the very bottom. I didn't want it to be noticeable, so I didn't want to make it all the way to the very edge, but I didn't want to make it too small either, because then if you put a cup on the edge of the coaster, I didn't want it to tip over. So I was trying to find the right size to be able to put on there, and I do believe this is going to work the best. It just worked out perfectly because the polish was sitting at my desk, so I thought, oh, this is a perfect fit. And again, it's self-adhesive, so I didn't have to add anything to it, and it stuck perfectly fine. There's one, and I got one more, and I am almost done. And here's the completed project. If you can tell on the sides, I used the silver Testors enamel paint marker, and this is it. You can see how nice and shimmery it is. Well, I hope this gives you ideas and inspiration, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to get more ideas, subscribe and hit the notification button, and I'll see you next Wednesday. In the meantime, happy crafting!